Why is it that during every major market crash, the rich seem to get even richer, while everyone else loses their life savings? In 1929, as the world watched the stock market crumble into dust, a few select families didn't just survive, they built empires that lasted for generations. Today, we are standing at a similar crossroads, with global debt projected to surpass $100 trillion by the end of 2025. The traditional system is fragile, and the institutions you were taught to trust are shaking. But I want you to understand something very important right now. Chaos is not your enemy. For the prepared mind, volatility is actually the ultimate mechanism for the transfer of wealth. I have spent years studying these cycles, and the evidence is clear. History does not repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. If you are over 50 or 60 years old, you cannot afford to play the old game of just being resilient. You need to become anti-fragile. Being resilient means you withstand a shock. Being anti-fragile means you actually get better and stronger because of the shock. Today, I am going to show you how to shift your mindset and your assets so that the coming volatility becomes your greatest opportunity. The fragility trap. We have been conditioned to believe that keeping money in a bank or a government bond is the peak of safety. But if we look at the data from the International Monetary Fund, the reality is far more dangerous. When a government owes more than it can ever produce, the only way out is to devalue the currency. This is a silent tax on your hard work and your legacy. Inflation is not an accident. It is a policy. Every dollar you have sitting in a standard savings account is losing its power every single minute. I have seen so many people work for 40 years only to watch their purchasing power evaporate in just 40 months. This is what I call the fragility trap. It is a system designed to reward the institutions while punishing the savers. The traditional 60-40 portfolio of stocks and bonds is no longer a shield. In a high volatility environment like 2025, these assets often crash at the same time. If your entire future is tied to the stability of a central bank, you are fragile. You are waiting for someone else to tell you that your money is safe. But true security does not come from permission. It comes from independence. The trap is set the moment you believe that a number on a digital screen represents true wealth. True wealth is the ability to command resources when the rest of the world is paralyzed. The psychology of the chaos architect. Before we talk about assets, we must talk about your mind. The biggest reason people lose everything during a crash is not bad luck, but bad psychology. When the headlines start screaming and the red numbers flash on the screen, your brain enters survival mode. Fear triggers the amygdala, and you stop thinking logically. The 1% do not react this way because they have trained themselves to be the architects of chaos. I want you to stop seeing a market drop as a tragedy and start seeing it as a clearance sale on the future. The architect of chaos knows that every massive wealth transfer in history was preceded by a period of extreme fear. If you are panicking, you are a consumer of the crisis. If you are calm, you are a producer of the solution. You must detach your identity from the volatility of your portfolio. Your worth is not defined by the current market price of your stocks. Your worth is defined by your ability to stay rational when no one else is. I have watched millionaires turn into paupers because they couldn't control their hands during a 2-week dip. And I have watched ordinary people become titans because they had the stomach to stay the course. The power of convexity. To profit from chaos, you must understand a concept called convexity. Most people take high risks for small gains. The anti-fragile strategist does the exact opposite. I focus on positions where the downside is limited, but the upside is infinite. Think of it like a small fire that can either go out or turn into a massive energy source. In 1929, the investors who won were the ones who held liquid assets and waited for the world to go on sale. They didn't try to predict the crash, they simply positioned themselves to benefit from it. This is the alchemy of chaos. When everyone else is panicking and selling their assets out of fear, you must be the one with the clarity to buy. But you cannot do this if your wealth is locked in a fragile system. You need assets that have a floor but no ceiling. This is not about gambling, it is about strategic positioning. I want you to stop thinking like a victim of the economy and start thinking like a predator of opportunity. Volatility is simply the market's way of repricing reality, And if you own the right things, that repricing will work in your favor. If you buy an asset at the bottom of a panic, your risk is the small amount you paid. But your reward is the entire recovery of the global economy over the next decade. That is convexity in action. The barbell wealth model. I want to introduce you to a strategy that the most elite thinkers use to protect themselves. It is called the barbell strategy. Imagine a barbell with heavy weights on both ends and nothing in the middle. On one end, you have extreme safety. These are your non-negotiable assets that allow you to sleep at night regardless of what happens. On the other end, you have extreme high-reward speculations. These are small bets that could pay off 100-fold if a black swan event occurs. Most people live in the middle, which is the most dangerous place to be. The middle is where you find mutual funds that lose 30% in a month, or savings accounts that get eaten by inflation. By avoiding the middle, you eliminate the risk of total ruin while keeping the door open for massive gains. I personally put 90% of my energy into extreme safety and only 10% into high-reward volatility. This way, even if my high-risk bets go to zero, I am still safe. But if they hit, I win bigger than anyone else in the room. This is how you build a fortress that no economic storm can knock down. Your anti-fragile blueprint. So how do we practically build this anti-fragile shield in 2025? Number 1. Physical sovereignty. I believe that physical gold and silver remain the most proven forms of independent wealth. They are the only assets that are not someone else's liability. When the digital system glitches or the bank limits your withdrawals, the gold in your hand remains absolute. Do not be fooled by paper certificates or digital gold products that you cannot hold. In a true crisis, the only thing that matters is what is within your physical reach. Vannevar Buch have survived the collapse of every empire in human history. They are the ultimate insurance policy for your family's future. Number 2. Productive land. Wealth is ultimately about the ability to sustain life. Owning land that can produce food or provide shelter is a convex asset because people will always need to eat and sleep. It is a hedge against the collapse of the industrial supply chain. If the grocery stores go empty for even a week, the person with a productive garden is the richest person in town. Land is the one thing they are not making any more of. It provides a level of security that no stock certificate can ever match. Number 3. Decentralized knowledge. Your greatest asset is not what is in your wallet, but what is in your head. The ability to navigate a crisis and solve problems is the only wealth that can never be taxed or stolen. I encourage you to invest in skills that make you useful, regardless of the currency in use. Learn how to fix things, how to grow things, and how to lead people in times of uncertainty. The world will always pay a premium for those who can maintain order in the midst of disorder. Your education is the only asset that the government cannot devalue through inflation. Number 4. Strategic liquidity. Keep enough cash or liquid equivalents outside of the traditional banking system to act when the crash happens. Cash is trash during inflation, but it is king during a panic. You need to be in a position where you can buy assets when everyone else is forced to sell them. This requires having dry powder ready to go at a moment's notice. I call this the opportunity fund. It is not meant for spending, it is meant for capturing the wealth transfer when the window opens. Number 5. Community and tribal trust. No one survives a massive economic shift alone. I want you to build a network of people who share your values and your vision for independence. In the old world, we trusted institutions. In the new world, we will trust our neighbors and our local communities. Find people who have skills you lack and offer them your own expertise in return. A strong community is a more powerful shield than any bank vault. The independent sovereign. As we look toward the horizon of 2025, the clouds are certainly gathering. But for those of us who have chosen the path of the independent sovereign, there is no need to fear. We do not hope for a stable world because we know that stability is an illusion. We embrace the waves because we have learned how to sail. I want you to take a moment and think about your children and your grandchildren. What kind of legacy are you building for them? Are you leaving them a pile of fragile paper or a foundation of anti-fragile strength? The choice you make today will determine your family's story for the next 50 years. You are the gatekeeper of your family's future. If you choose to remain in the system, you are choosing to let others dictate your fate. But if you choose the path of independence, you are taking back the pen to write your own story. I know it feels overwhelming at first, but remember that every giant oak tree started as a small seed. Start with one small action today, whether it is buying your first silver coin or learning a new survival skill. Confidence comes from action, not from watching. If the system resets tomorrow, will your wealth be a victim or a victor? I want to hear from you in the comments below. Tell me your biggest fear about the current market and what one step you are taking to become more independent. We are building a community of people who refuse to be victims. In our next video, I will go even deeper into the financial bunker strategy. I will show you exactly how to isolate your assets from systemic collapse. I will show you the specific jurisdictions and methods that the ultra-wealthy use to hide from the storm. Do not let the world's chaos dictate your future. Be the one who thrives. You have the power to turn this crisis into your greatest victory. This content is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial or medical advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making significant changes to your portfolio or lifestyle. The world is changing fast, but your principles should remain unshakable. Stay strong and stay sovereign.